What the hell? Why is Sorcerer absolutely broken? Flying from level 1 to 100. This character didn't exist 4 hours ago and is already level 85. Let me explain the skill rotation for infinite mana and cooldown reduction, and where we put every point at which level for the smoothest experience you can have. This is, by the way, how a normal Uber boss would be going, and what you want to do is Ice Blades and Unstable Currents. Ice Blades is for the vulnerable, Unstable Currents is for essentially using your teleport and your Ice Orb to create quite some menace, and then you're just spamming away, and well, that's it. You're not running out of, yeah, ta-da. Absolute destruction. For speed farming, we're currently knocking out tier 66. We could probably go higher, but why would we? We are essentially just jumping in, pop our cooldowns, Frozen Orb, and then we just keep zooming. We never run out of resource, teleport further on, greater affix item that we need to put on. Get the Channeling Shrine, go further, cooldowns, get our Ice Armor back up, and then, like, well, you notice, names the game, Sorcerer, absolutely incredible. Nothing can essentially stop us while we're, oh, that's a double greater affix item even, while we're zooming through and not suffering any problem. Oh, and this event here, so that's going to summon like a lot of things around us, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to pop all your cooldowns, and then you're going to, again, just do the Ice Orb. And you know how much XP this actually provides, right? The more enemies they kill, the faster they respawn, the better it happens. And as you're popping the cooldowns, you're essentially getting barriers. So you're going to be popping all your cooldowns and just stand in the middle and keep destroying everything so quick that it just continuously respawns. While below you, that super stupid lava thingy is happening. And yep, Sorcerer is absolutely mental when it comes down to leveling right now. I mean, my experience is just like, you do notice how it's just moving forward, right? it's pure love. Like, there couldn't be anything more brilliant. I've been having more fun than my Necromancer, and that's my main character. When the boss fight, by the way, well, we're triggering our Unstable Currents, cooldowns. And what you want to do is, well, just absolutely shit on the boss, right? Let me show you how this works and how it's done. First, the infinite mana. How does it actually work that you're not running out? And that is so simple. We are using the aspect of the Umbro. And that one says, restore 6 of your primary resource when you crowd control an enemy. Let's look at Frozen Orb for a second. Unleash an orb that chills for 34% and expels piercing shards. Frozen Orb explodes, dealing damage and chilling enemies for 9%. So you chill and then you chill. So all of these are instances of crowd control because chill stacks up until frozen. And frozen is another crowd control. So every instance of existence your Frost Orb does to multiple enemies gives you 6 mana, 6 mana, 6 mana, 6 mana, 6 mana, 6 mana. And as you're pushing through Hell Tides, your orb just never depletes. Now you'd say, wow, but how does that work against bosses? That's actually very simple. You're going to go through your rotations and everything, staggering the boss. And as soon as he's staggered, your further Frost Orbs chill him again and refill your orb as well. As you can see versus the boss in the beginning, we just overwhelmed him like there's no tomorrow. Now, where do our skill points land and what do we transition into? First, it's Frostbolt with Enhanced Frostbolt and Glinting Frostbolt. And you do actually need the Frostbolt for the 44% lucky hit chance. That will allow you to clear the Capstone dungeon already with level 20. Below level 30. Hell, you could even do it with level 10 because the Frostbolt, together with the Elemental Surge enchantment, does plenty of damage. Plenty. Our next point leads into Frozen Orb with the Enhanced Frozen Orb. And later, we're going to go for the Greater Frozen Orb for the bonus Vulnerable, right? But in the beginning, you definitely want to go for Destructive Frozen Orb as you want that 5 mana restored. Mana restored is the most important thing in the beginning to just really never run out. The center triple point into Ice Armor, Enhanced Ice Armor with Teleport and Flame Shield. Just get that knocked out early. And if you pick Mystical Ice Armor, you chill enemies around you, faster staggers, and well, you get more resource back because you're crowd controlling. Next up is Ice Blades into Ice Blade cooldown reduction and then Ice Blade cooldown reduction to everything else. So you essentially reduce the cooldown of your defensive skills like crazy. And as your final skill while leveling, it's going to be Lightning Spear, which then gets followed up by 3 ranks in Conjuration Mastery that we actually get damage, movement speed, and a higher mana regeneration for each active conjuration. And we can, well, try to keep these up as much and often as we can. With one more point into align the elements and then the mana shield and also protection. just we're good up and don't get hurt. Next 2 points in Glass Cannon for the maximum damage. Then we're going all the way down and no ultimate skill for now. The Unstable Currents becomes useful as soon as you pick up the winterglass, because the Fracture winterglass is like the thing to have later on. Casting Frozen Orbs has a 40% chance to spawn a random conjuration when it explodes. Your conjurations have up to a 70% chance to launch a Frozen Orb at nearby enemies. So you're essentially making your Frozen Orbs explode a lot, then they make conjurations, and then you get more conjurations, and you get the drift. With 2 more ranks into Conjuration Mastery, we're essentially having infinite mana loop going on. The fun part is, it works completely without. I picked the winterglass up at 80, but until then, I was already in 3 hours up to level 80. Let's spend the next 10 points so we can pick up our ultimate. And what you want to do, put 1 point in is Fireball, because we're essentially going for the Fireball enchantment to explode everything. And the next enchantment, as you get the level, is going to be the Frozen Orb, because the Fireball just makes everything pop a little bit more, while the Frozen Orb lets you cast bonus Frozen Orbs. Like, fantastic, right? The Fireball enchantment will later be swapped out. Next point into Glass Cannon, that's the easiest damage gainer. Then we want Teleport to give us bonus movement speed, 1 point in Devastation for the mana, and then 3 points into Elemental Dominance for that 12% damage increase when cast above 50 mana. And that cast above 50 mana is super easy with Frozen Orb, as we're gemming now the next 4 points just in Frozen Orb to have the max level. This brings us down here to our ultimates. Until level 80, I've been just rocking Shatter for the Freeze Expiration Super Explosion, good for the Hell Tides. But that swapped then with the Fractured Winterglass over to Izu's Ferocity to have my damage just multiply harder. That being said, for now, Shatter is your friend. Your skill bar for the first Capstone Dungeon looks following. We have Frostbolt to essentially spam the boss down, and we have Frozen Orb together with Ice Armor, Teleport, Ice Blades, and also Flame Shield. The Lightning Spear doesn't come to fruition here right now. That's for later on, because this is essentially how you're going to play until Capstone number 2, and you're going to knock that out with Frostbolt as well. But as we then go over to World Tier 4, Frostbolt can go out for the Lightning Spear, because then we don't need that lucky hit bonus Elemental Surge just to destroy the very end game boss super easy. And in order to make the whole frostbolting easier, you can put 3 points into Precision Magic, because that helps tremendously with that 15% lucky hit chance increase. Later on, we don't need this, but for now, it just does wonders. Slam 2 more points into Mana Shield for even more damage reduction to literally survive anything. Then we're going to have our Flame Shield grant as a bonus critical strikes. Thank you very much. And now all the way at the bottom, we're essentially beefing up the Permafrost, the Hoarfrost, the Icy Touch, and 2 points into the Frigate Freeze, just to get the most damage possible to anything that's frozen, chilled, and what's so not. Now 1 more point in Inner Flames, plus another 3 points in Devouring Blaze. That will be extremely good with the Winterglass, because we can continuously make sure to burn enemies, as we will be summoning Hydras, left, right, and center, that just spit out fire. But we also just simply burn enemies with our Flame Shield. We're close to 50 and we get that 1 point left. What we're going to do with this now? Well, we can start yoinking out the points out of Precision Magic, as we don't need that anymore. Since our Frostbolt did its job, that also is the Glinting Frostbolt point out. That gives me 5 more. And these 5 more is going to be 1 in Unstable Currents, because Unstable Currents works perfect with the Winterglass, since all the conjurations the Winterglass summons also count for Unstable Currents as shock skills to then keep giving you more shock skills to just go crazy. And if you're just spamming the Teleport while you're essentially having the Unstable Currents up, that works as well. At the end of the day, Unstable Currents gives you 25% attack speed, which is fantastic. The Supreme Unstable Currents is absolutely not needed. Final 3 points can be used to beef up Flame Shield. Then we take this one out of the Fireball and put it into the Flame Shield as well. Lowest cooldown possible. And our second enchantment will then become the Ice Blade enchantment. For every 40 seconds in cooldowns you spend, you spawn an Ice Blade on a random enemy. And that is incredible, because if we just get 40 seconds in cooldown spend, we get another Ice Blade that can reduce the cooldown on vulnerable enemies, and that then can reduce the global cooldown. And if we have more Ice Blades, as we're making more Ice Blades, we're getting even more Conjuration Mastery for even more mana regen, movement speed, and damage. Couldn't be better to just get our resource back, couldn't it? Don't worry if you don't have the Winterglass yet. Lord Zur is dropping this one. And the blood for him, you get easily from the Blood Maiden, plus from level 70 on, maybe 65 even, you can absolutely blast him into smithereens. You saw me dealing death and destruction to Grigoire the Galvanic Saint. Take 1 or 2 friends with you so all of you get a drop and you'll have the Fractured Winterglass in no time. Now let's go over the must-have leveling aspects, and that is on your ring aspect of the Umbral. We talked about it. That gives you just the perfect mana restoration, and it's better than actually the Prodigious aspect. Yeah, you have the aspect of the Prodigy, which using a cooldown restores 15 to 25 mana. That being said, if you have both, there's no shame in just simply using both because you do have them. Umbral does do the trick to 95% of the time, versus bosses if you're then going early into the Nightmare Dungeons, or even for the Capstone, the Prodigy can be a whiffy better. On the weapon, you do want the aspect of the Frozen Orbit for the Frost Orb to explode 2 additional times for bonus damage. You put this on your 2-handed weapon while leveling easy 2-handed weapon later, 1-hand and focus. That's crazy. Now, I did not have this until level 17. So don't worry, it's not mandatory for leveling, just simply the earlier you get it, the better it is. On the amulet, I've been running the accelerating aspect. Critical strikes with core skills increase your attack speed by 25%. Simply, more orbs being cast, more attack speed, more freezing, chilling, more mana back, more everything. Especially as you later pick up the frost augments for chance for frozen orb projectiles to cast twice. Yes. That'd go crazy because you're casting twice and then your winterglass is making things that can also cast twice. And then you have a lot of attack speed, and the more you cast, the more twice you cast, the more explosions you get, the more conjurations you get, the more everything. On the gloves, it would be the aspect of the shredding blades. Ice blades chance to apply vulnerables increased by 20%, and the vulnerable duration is increased by 4 seconds. And then we get another 25% multiplier against vulnerable enemies. This is very good for even more cooldown reduction. On your chest, you can just be rocking the concentration. Casting a conjuration skill grants you 20% damage reduction, and we should be having the cooldown of ice blades at the point where we essentially can permanently just cast that and have the fixed 20% damage reduction just happening. Simple as cake. And on the helmet, during leveling, I've most of the time just run Jugger. Just have the maximum armor happening. One done and done. It's the simplest thing for you to do to just reach that armor cap and simply don't have to worry about anything. Now, as you go for one-hand and off-hand, what we can add bonus is the Storm Swell aspect. Yep, you deal 30% increased damage to vulnerable enemies while you have a barrier. That one is so simple. I still don't have it to this. I don't have it. That's why I'm playing a 2-handed weapon, because I don't have it. And let's be fair, on the boots and the pants, I didn't even put anything while leveling the whole time over. But if you feel like it, just slam on the aspect of Fortune for more lucky hit chance. And on your boots, you can get more movement speed when you're moving away from slowed or chilled enemies, as you leave some nerds behind you and just keep zooming forward faster. That being said, I'm pushing to 100 and I'm just having random enchantments on these items because it really doesn't make a difference in your combat prowess. First gear, we're going to save under the level 1 to 80, and then we're going to go for the level 80 plus, because this is where things change. As you're then 80 plus, you're going to be putting on the Fractured Winterglass, and that is a core piece of the equipment for later on for pushing the pit. You do really want to farm this, but you don't need it to hit 100. It's just nice that you can put it from level 80 onwards already on your equipment. Then we're going to drop the Prodigy for Tal Rashas, and Tal Rasha is just amazing, right? I mean, you get the multiplicative damage up for each different element that we're using, and we already have fire, frost, and lightning essentially going on. Perfection. If you do have the Winterglass early already, you can drop aspect of the Umbral then, because the bonus mana generation you get from the Conjuration Mastery and everything is enough and kind of replaces Umbral completely, which allows you to get the accelerating aspect back into the fray. As an option, if you do have the Ring of Starless Skies, it's an uber unique. You might have picked this up on another character. That works even better. Ring of Starless Skies is insane. It's a 40% damage bonus and easily would replace your Storm Swell aspect, because that's a 30% more damage to vulnerable, and the Ring of Starless Skies is an always 40% damage bonus, which is just simply better than Storm Swell, and Storm Swell would then become the accelerating aspect. I hope that makes sense to you. For the helmet, we have been running Juggernaut, but that one would also be replaced through Harlequin Crest as soon as you pick up the Harlequin Crest. If you don't get the Harlequin Crest, there's a second version of the build where the Juggernaut aspect gets replaced through the Mage Lord's aspect. That's the Mage Lord, and then you could also go in the skill tree instead of down here with the Essos Ferocity to Verse Mastery. So this is Essos Ferocity. You pick up Verse Mastery, because then with the Mage Lord, you will be getting a huge amount of damage reduction. And don't worry, I'll be adding the second skill tree there as well. Chest stays with concentration, gloves with the shredding blades, aspect of the frozen orbit on your weapon set in stone. Your pants can become T-Bolt's Will. T-Bolt's Will drops from Duriel. Duriel you can kill from level 70 on as well already, which gives you damage reduction from clothes, more resource, more damage, and a 20% damage multiplier when you become unstoppable. And, well, that's Sorc, right? Sorc is always unstoppable. The 50 resource gain is not important at all. And lastly, the best thing you can pick up on your boots is Isu's Heirloom. Isu's gives you movement speed after killing elite, mana cost reduction, critical strike damage, and then your critical strike chances increased by 30% of your movement speed bonus. More movement speed, more crits, more awesome. The boots are dropping from the Beast of Ice or Varshan, which are both possible from level 70 on to easily get down. Keep in mind though, I am currently level 86 and I don't have the boots. I don't have the pants. I do have the Fracture Winterglass, and I do have Tawasha's Loop already, which is fantastic. So that helps tremendously. The Harlequin Crest and the Ring of Starless Skies will essentially make you faster, but they're not make or break it. The other aspects do an equivalently great job as these two items. These two items just streamline it a little bit more, that you can just zoom harder through the levels. Do the Paragon Board, boosting maximum life quite a lot, that we have just enough life going on, with the reinforced glyph on the bonus to the rare notes with the non-physical damage and the resistance to all elements. Then we're moving into the Enchantment Master Board with the Elementalist glyph, boosting our non-physical damage even further with some more max life and non-physical damage. Damage reduction from elites, very good. Plus damage reduction from burning enemies, which we can do with our Flame Shield essentially. Going into the Frigate Fate board for more damage multipliers, together with the Enchanter glyph. Yes, with all the intelligence that is essentially available, but at one point, I mean, that's why we have 3 spare points. If you do want to push this up to 70, you could. If you need some more resistance, you could use these 3 points for more resistance, or if you need more life, you could use them for more life. We're going downwards into damage reduction from vulnerable enemies with then Icefall. Your frost skills deal 15% increased damage to vulnerable enemies, and bonus if they are actually frozen. Plus, well, even more cold damage and chill application. Zooming then out to the right here into the Ceaseless Conduit board for the Destruction glyph. Critical strikes increase all damage to the enemy, 12% multiplier. And then in general, increasing your critical strike damage. That's why we also want to boost our critical strike chance up a lot with our equipment. With the Flame Fleeter gift, that gives us 10% increased direct damage to burning enemies, and we'll get that burning enemy going. Lastly, Exploit for the bonus damage versus vulnerable, which gives us tons of multiplier to just overwhelm any opposition. As we dive deeper into the pit, we'll add another build rewind if we feel the need to change some things around, so have your eyes out for that. Ladies and gentlemen, could I convince you to play the Frozen Orb Sorc, or are you rather interested in the best rogue available, leveling and endgame, or rather the Golem Slammer that was made safer than ever to not get one hit a single time? Enjoy all these different builds. Thank you for watching.